2013 Mercedes A-class W176. I'm going to fit some heated seats. First, unplug the multi-plug underneath the seat that connects the airbag and the light, footwell light. So we're just going to need to unclip, snap off this cable tie carefully with a pair of cutters. Freeze up that cable. Then on each side here there's a little tag which you push in. It's a bit fiddly. Sides have a tendency to want to go back, snap back in. Once you've got the catches removed, it slides out pretty easily. Warning, disconnecting this will cause an airbag warning light on the dash that you cannot reset with a standard OBD tool. You will need a Mercedes specific one, and I'll recommend one at the end of the video. Slide the seat all the way back and undo the 2 bolts at the front. Then slide the seat all the way forward, and there's 2 reverse Torx bolts here, for which you'll need an E12 socket. There's a couple of, you slide the seat all the way back, there's a couple of plastic covers on the front of the rail that you want to slide off, because they're going to get in the way otherwise. And then that should free the front. Okay, on the back there's plastic covers on the back of those rails too, but you can leave those on. They don't stop it coming out, and they'll protect the paintwork as you pull the seat out. So now grab the seat and gently twist it through 90 degrees towards you. But don't pull too hard. There's another cable tie that needs to come off yet. Okay, with the seat rotated into this position, you can see that the cable loom that goes into the floor is still attached by another cable clip. I'm going to carefully snip that free, and now the seat is free to come out with a bit of very careful manhandling. You'll probably find it easiest to get the seat into this side-on position first. Gently and carefully and it's out. Okay, we've got the seat out the car now. Now we need to strip the plastic bits off each side. So you start with this one here, small screwdriver, get it in there and pop that off. And then there's a little tag here at the back which you can just pop out and leave the whole thing forward. Put it off. Big screwdriver in here. And that will come out. Big screwdriver in here. And that will come out. Then round at the back there's a Torx T20 screw. On the back side of that large plastic panel is this weird bit here with little wings each side. You need to depress those hard and then the panel will then move out that way. Okay, so with that little clip released under the back, the whole thing will now lift off, up, and then forward. And things are a little simpler on the other side. Torx T20 again. And then just lift off. Right then, so now we need to release the covers so that we can slide in the heated pad element. The cover for the seat back is wedged in along here with a plastic strip that needs to be pulled that way out. It looks impossible, but it's not. So I'm going to use this tiny little hook here, which is actually an airbag removal tool. It's just a wire hook on the end of a handle. Good for popping out airbags, also good for taking this seat apart. Okay, I'm just going to get the hook in here and then yank the whole thing out that way. If you're struggling with this, one thing you can do is get the hook on the end here, the bit you can see, and pull that way. That will create a little gap in here so you can get the hook in the back like this. Get it right behind the bit of plastic that's jammed in, and it's free. Now we've got the end out, the rest of it we'll pull out with a little force. Right, that's that free. That then exposes two screw holes, one there and one there. So, Torx T20 again, get up in there. And unscrew those, one each side. Okay, with the bottom released, you can now just pull that off. Okay, now the fabric is attached with these metal tabs, so release all of those next. Okay, on one side should be the airbag. Pull that out. Pull this whole plastic joiner out. From behind here, there's a bit of spare on it. And you've got these two little plastic rivets here. If you get a small screwdriver, you can just lever the head up and then probably the whole thing will come out. That will allow you to then slide these against each other, and that frees the cover to be able to get away from the edge of the airbag. Right, so now the seat cover's retained with these white plastic things that are wrapped around a rod. Best thing to do is get a pair of fine nose pliers and twist 90 degrees clockwise. That frees up this thing. So there's a rope covered wire in here running in that direction, which goes through there, and by twisting it out it comes loose. Save that, you're going to put that back. You're going to do that for that one there, and that one there, and that one and that one, and these two lower ones down here and here, and then also up here you're going to do that for the 4 running across this way too. Don't bother with these 2 top ones, leave those in. So all in all we're going to take off 10. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right then, for these lower ones right in the corner, you won't be able to get a pair of pliers in like I just did. So instead I've got them out with this flat bladed screwdriver. There's a little hole in this black bar, and then this flat bladed screwdriver, which is 4mm in diameter, just fits across the diagonal of this of the hole in the square hole in the middle of this peg, and you can use it to twist it. If you have a pair of right angled fine nose pliers, you might be able to get in that way and turn it. For me, just by jamming it in hard enough, this, and putting some pressure on the back of the seat to resist, jamming this in, I've managed to catch it and then twist it out. Okay, so the fabric is just slightly folded over the edge of this straw backing, so I'm just going to unfold that so it's clear, and then you can push / pull the whole thing through the gap, and it'll pop out the other side. That will then allow you to peel up. Like this. Okay, so those white clips we took out are holding in a bar across there and across there. So pad needs to take in those bars into account. So we've got this gap in the middle and the end. Basically all we can do is align the pad to the bottom 2/3 of the seat, chop it short of this bar here, and then open up this gap in the middle that we saw to allow this bar here to go through. So hold your pad up against here, find the middle bar, line it up, and then chop short of that top bar so that it doesn't overlay that. Okay, so I've just used an extremely sharp Stanley knife, new blade, to cut a hole in the middle through where the gap is. I line that up with that, I've cut this short with that one there. Now I'm going to feed it through the back like a letterbox. Just before I go any further, peel back the corners of the adhesive strip. You need to do that blind in a minute. Peel these off, so just fold that back just a little bit on both sides. And I'd advise slightly wonky, so there's a tab hanging out to one side for you to grab hold of blind. Okay, now I'm going to feed it up in here. Like that, keep pulling it through and up until it gets right up to here. Okay, so you're not really going to be able to see what's going on, but it's fed all the way up there. I'm just going to use my hands to make sure it's straight and that I can get my finger through the gap in the pad through to, should be able to get my finger through this hole here and through these, and feel those holes there. That's where this wire here is going to go through. Okay, so just make sure it's all lined up, then peel off and put down Okay, that pad's now in and secured with the self-adhesive tape on the back. Now this wire is too wide to go in the gap of maximum width of the gap, so this now needs to be shorter. I'm going to slide this out, get it in the vise, chop it short. Okay, so this metal sheet part is now small enough to go right through that gap with what needs to happen. So I'm now going to slide it back in here and make a chop here and here. So this is in 3 separate sections. So we've got one centre section in that sock which just disappears through that hole. Just to help you visualise what's going on here, these are the clips that we took out the back. And what's going on is this metal bar is going down into there. So later on, in order to get these out, put this seat back together, we're going to put the clip in from the rear and then from the front. That way we're going to try and push this bar snap back into here. Okay, so we're ready to clip the seat back into position. Okay, you can see these tabs just on the back of the hook either side, which leaves this gap here, which is what's going to fit in over this board. So we're going to put it in that way, like that, and then do a half twist anti-clockwise in order to stick it back in position. A good idea to put them all in the same way, right? So that the entry point for the rod is all at the bottom or all at the top. So I'm going to put mine in pointing that way, that, and then do a quarter turn anti-clockwise, and that's that. And then we're ready to push in snap in the metal bar from the other side. Okay, so I've put back in this 1, 2, 3, 4 for the 2 horizontal bars. Spent a long time putting these back in and trying to get the wire to snap in, but because you can't really get your fingers around it and push it properly, it's almost impossible without removing the whole top of the seat. So I haven't bothered putting these 6 back in, and it's made absolutely no difference at all on the other seat that I did. It still looks perfectly fine and everything's secure. It's pulled in so tightly around the sides here and all these catches and at the bottom that there's no chance of it moving in any case, so I haven't bothered. Okay, so now to reattach the wires back on these clips, I can't really show it to you, but I'll do my best to describe. You want to get one hand either side. One hand is going to be on this clip that you're to give some pressure that way. And the other hand goes up inside, grabs this metal bar. Put 2 fingers either side of the metal bar, either side of where the catch is. Feel for where the catch is. 2 fingers on the bar either side. Drag it down, push it in to that little catch that I showed you until you feel it click in place. Here it's loose. It's often lower than you think it is. And there, it's clipped in. And now if I pull it out, you'll see it's attached. Now I'm just going to repeat the same process, 2 more clips there and there. Okay, with those 4 clips back in now, you can see the seat back's nice and secure. The ones we left out were here, and here and here, etc. They're so close to these other ones that there's very little difference. And in a minute we're going to wrap this, pull this hard around here and get out all of the recreases. So now I'm just going to take this flap, finish with that, push it back through the letterbox, back out the other side. When you're pulling that bottom flap through, just make sure on the side here that the fabric's nice and neatly set behind this bit of thing, because you want it to be in exactly the right place. We're going to need every millimetre of fabric we've got in a minute to put the trapping strip at the back in neatly. Okay, so back at the back now, here's our cable, and we've just folded these back over the corner of the backing pad like they were, nice and straight, and then hook these fabric hooks back on this side. Just pulls everything nice and tight around here. Right, back on the other side, we need to put this airbag back together. So we're going to pull out this half that's got lost in the side. Okay, pull that quite tight. We're going to slide the two halves back together. Okay, and then take the little black chaffer which comes apart into two halves, one half through, and then the little black pin goes in. Again, pull that apart, slide it in and through, and then that can get lost again and hang over that fabric hook there, and that allows you to re-hook all of these nice and tight on that last one round to where it should be. Finally then, these black pads that were over two top clips can go back in. Haven't worked out what they're for. I'm thinking some kind of noise reduction thing because it was squeaking. Okay, last thing is I'm just gonna run this cable down here so that when we put the back on and put that in, that's nicely tucked up in there. Okay, to put the back on, just going to put it in there, slide it up into position, whack it in, then put the two screws back in. It's this curved edge, not this T-shaped edge, that needs to go in, so you need to roll it over tight, and then that strip needs to go back in there. It's so incredibly tight, you need to pull this down as hard as you can, and then I used a screwdriver to help me get that first bit in like that, and then with that done it's a lot easier with the screwdriver to push in the rest and just work your way along. All done. So that's the top one installed, everything back together. Now we've just got a connector for the pad hanging out there. Time to do the bottom pad. We've got the seat upside down now, so we're going to pull off this bit here going forward that way, and that bit there, and there's one there, and then around the edge of the seat there's a little clip here, so we need to get our airbag hook in behind this edge and just hoik it. Okay, don't be afraid to pull quite hard on this. It might sound like it's splitting, but it's not. Just go for it. having released the seat all the way around from the bottom, we now need to peel it back from this sponge. And just inside here you can see the yellow clip, and these bars clip into them. So you need to pull these up all the way down the length of the seat and across. But be careful, don't pull them up just with your hands. Okay, get a finger in there, push down hard on the base of the yellow clip before you pull up. Bottom of the seat pad's pretty much the same as the back was. We've got 2 ribs in the seat here going across, and I've put the pad in such a way as to occupy the front 2/3 of the seat, cut it short of the rear rib, lined up the gap in the middle of the pad with the second rib, and then I'm using the self-adhesive to stick it down. There's also a little electrical component lump in here, so I've dug a little hole out of the thing for that to sit in, so hopefully it doesn't stick in the legs quite so badly. There's also a little gap here which you can feed the electrical connector in. On the passenger side, when you take this apart, you'll see there's a component in there already. That's the passenger weight sensor, which tells the car that somebody sat in there, and therefore whether to turn the airbag off or not, for child safety reasons. So you can just tuck that cable in through that gap. So on the passenger side, just lay the heat seater pad over the top of that pressure sensor, so that you get the maximum heat in your bum. The pressure sensor should still work fine with your weight on it. Okay, so that's that lined up and put in place. Now we're going to just do a similar thing that we did with the metal bar. So this bit here, this bit of plastic that went into the yellow clips, is too wide to go in the maximum width of slot I've been able to cut here. So I'm just going to chop this here and here so that it goes into this hole, but still fits in the yellow clips there and there. Okay, these bits on the end you don't really need. The thing's sewn together here, so it's not, this bit of plastic isn't holding it, the seat cover together, it's just holding it down to a clip that isn't there, so it's superfluous. Okay, so I've narrowed this plastic bead now. Now I'm going to push it back into the yellow clips. You want to support the yellow clip from the other side here. Get your hand underneath, find the base of the yellow clip buried in that hole there, and then push down from the other side, making sure this goes right in the gap, and then just go push until it clicks. Obviously start with the 2 back ones first, 1, 2, and the ones at the side, 3, 4, etc, etc, until they're all clipped in. Okay, with all those clips back in now, just want to wrestle the cover back over the foam. Put it down nice and tight. Okay, good enough for now. In the moment when we stretch it over the metal cage, it'll all come out nice and tight. Okay, with the seat back upside down again, you just want to gently push the little plastic edging over onto the metal and just work your way around. I think it will help. You can get your airbag hook. Just pull it out like that. And then make sure it's pushed down firmly. might want to do each of the two sides first. And then come to the middle last. Okay, so once you've got it all on the edges, just give it a firm push. Make sure it's well clamped in. And then we want to put back the other hooks that we undid. There's one each side, there and there. Use your hook to pull those back into place, or your hand. 1, 2, like that, and then roll these light clips around that tube and pull this one back over here as well. Okay, so last thing I've done while the thing's still upside down is I've just cable tied down my seat bottom plug and the seat back plug so that they're going to stay well out of the way as the seat moves. Right, time to put all the plastic stuff back on. Okay, on the complicated side we've got this little black thingy here which slides in here. Just going to put that over the front. Right, this little hook, bit of hook there that needs to go over there, so pop that over the top, and you'll do a bit of wiggling. There she goes. Okay, that's good. You can tell it's in the right place because this will look central, central, central. Okay, slightly smaller wheel goes on the front, slightly bigger one on the back. Handle, slide till it goes click. There you go. And then put that in there. Snap. So that side done. And then T20 right in the back. On the opposite side, pretty simple. Just hook it over here and here until you make sure that the T20 hole is in place. Okay, so before we put the seat back in the car, it's time to plumb in the wiring. That's going to be really hard to get to afterwards. So, where's all this going to go? Well, most of it's going to go inside the centre console. The parts for which are pretty easy to pull out. I'll show you that later when I put it back in. And there's a bit of spare space, especially at the front there, where we could lose things like relays, etc. Plus there is the power supply to the cigarette lighter, which is 15 amp supply, so it'll be easy to connect the seats off of those. In fact, I've already soldered on a wire here for parking sensor power later, so we're going to that's where I'll piggyback the heated seats from. 15 amp circuit, like I said, comes on with the ignition and the heated seats are about 4 amps each, so per pad, so that should be fine for a total there. And there's also a second cigarette lighter at the back here, so we could do the second seat off of that one. and then the so that's where we're going to lose all of that. Next slightly tricky problem, these are the connectors for the seats. Somehow we've got to get those out of there and out up neatly to the seats. It's all very tight along here, not a lot of room for, no flexibility to get a cable through, but I did find that just where these two halves of the carpet meets, I could get a little poking rod through there. I won't be able to get through these massive connectors, the hole's just too tight, but there's quite a lot of cable there. I can chop that halfway, feed the cable through, and then resolder them together the other side. So that's what I'll do. Okay then, so just a quick word on how to get into this center console. Pretty easy, just get your hand in there and pull this thing directly upwards, and that will pop out really easily. And then you can pull this whole section out in sort of this direction, up and out quite easily. So there's no screws, it's all just plastic clips, just pull hard and it will pop out. Okay, wiring's all finished now. So positive and negatives for both sides have been soldered on to the back of the connector for the cigarette lighter. Each of the seats is going to consume about 4.3 amps when the engine is running. So that takes me to about 9 amps if both seats were on full. And it's a 15 amp circuit, so there's still plenty left there of capacity there for a couple of phone chargers, etc. So all good on that front. All the wiring's bunched up down in there, and I fitted the switches to the side of the panel here. Okay, and then there's a little gap down, where is it? A little gap here. I was able to get the cable out through, so that's now there and ready to get plugged into the seat. So I've given it a good hoover, now I'm going to get the seat in and connect it up. Okay, so I've wedged the seat into an awkward position, reconnected the electrical connector and re-cable tied the cables back where it originally was, and reconnected the seat, and now connected the seat heaters in, and now I'm going to manoeuvre it back into position in the car. Okay, so final step then is to deal with the dashboard warning that will have arisen as a result of you disconnecting the seats. So if you look, you can see that the dashboard is now saying front left malfunction and front right malfunction. Also, I've got the bonnet open. Front left malfunction, front right malfunction. Okay, so that's because you disconnected. Reconnecting is not sufficient to clear that error, so we're going to need to clear that error with an OBD tool. Now, unfortunately, your average cheapo £10 OBD tool is not going to do this. To demonstrate, if I go into OBD2 diagnose, that is, don't use any of the custom Mercedes stuff, just do standard stuff, you'll see it says that there are no zero diagnostic trouble codes in this ECU. So to carry this out, you're going to need a device which is designed to access all the Mercedes specific codes. Okay, and this iCarSoft i980 is just one such device, costs £100. So select diagnose instead of IBD diagnosed, then you get to choose which manufacturer. We'll go for Benz. Okay, then we're going to choose W176 A-class, and it's got a diesel engine, and it's right hand drive, and it's an A200, but whatever. Okay, I would just go with manual because you're going to go straight to the appropriate device. I would go with SRS. Alright, and then read fault memory. And there we go, the squib, as in the side bolster for the side bag driver has a malfunction. Okay, etc, etc. So we're just going to clear all of that, Jack. Do you really want to clear? Yes, I do. Cleared successfully. Okay, and hopefully that's it. Turn that off, and when I turn it back on, the airbag error has gone. That's all. Good luck.